Today we'll be reading the third piece of The Quest of the Holy Grail from King Arthur, Tales of the Round Table, edited by Andrew Lang. 5. The Adventure of Sir Percivale. All this while Sir Percivale had pursued adventures of his own, and came nigh unto losing his life, but he was saved from his enemies by the good knight Sir Galahad, whom he did not know, although he was seeking him, for Sir Galahad now bore a red shield, and not a white one. And at last the foes fled deep into the forest, and Sir Galahad followed, but Sir Percivale had no horse, and was forced to stay behind. Then his eyes were opened, and he knew it was Sir Galahad who had come to his help, and he sat down under a tree and grieved sore. While he was sitting there, a knight passed by, riding a black horse, and when he was out of sight, a yeoman came pricking after as fast as he might, and seeing Sir Percivale, asked if he had seen a knight mounted on a black horse. "Yes, sir, forsooth," answered Sir Percivale. "Why do you want to know?" "Ah, sir, that is my steed which he has taken from me, and wherever my lord shall find me, he is sure to slay me." "Well," said Sir Percivale, "thou seest that I am on foot, but had I a good horse, I would soon come up with him." "Take my hackney," said the yeoman, "and do the best you can, and I shall follow you on foot to watch how you speed." So Sir Percivale rode as fast as he might, and at last he saw that knight, and he hailed him. The knight turned and set his spear against Sir Percivale, and smote the hackney in the breast, so that he fell dead to the earth, and Sir Percivale fell with him. Then the knight rode away. But Sir Percivale was mad with wrath, and cried to the knight to return and fight with him on foot. And the knight answered not, and went on his way. When Sir Percivale saw that he would not turn, he threw himself on the ground, and cast away his helm and sword, and bemoaned himself for the most unhappy of all knights. And there he abode the whole day, and being faint and weary, slept till it was midnight. And at midnight he waked, and saw before him a woman, who said to him right fiercely, "Sir Percivale, what doest thou here?" "Neither good nor great ill," answered he. "If thou wilt promise to do my will when I call upon you," said she, "I will lend you mine own horse, and he shall bear thee whither thou shalt choose." This Sir Percivale promised gladly, and the woman went and returned with a black horse, so large and well apparelled that Sir Percivale marvelled. But he mounted him gladly, and drove in his spurs, and within an hour and less the horse bare him 4 days' journey hence, and would have borne him into a rough water that roared, had not Sir Percivale pulled at his bridle. The knight stood doubting, for the water made a great noise, and he feared lest his horse could not get through it. Still, wishing greatly to pass over, he made himself ready, and signed the sign of the cross upon his forehead. At that, the fiend which had taken the shape of a horse shook off Sir Percivale, and dashed into the water, crying and making great sorrow, and it seemed to him that the water burned. Then Sir Percivale knew that it was not a horse but a fiend, which would have brought him to perdition, and he gave thanks, and prayed all that night long. As soon as it was day, he looked about him, and saw he was in a wild mountain, girt round with the sea, and filled with wild beasts. Then he rose and went into a valley, and there he saw a young serpent bring a young lion by the neck, and after that there passed a great lion, crying and roaring after the serpent, and a fierce battle began between them. Sir Percivale thought to help the lion, as he was the more natural beast of the twain, and he drew his sword and set his shield before him, and gave the serpent a deadly buffet. And here is Sir Percivale slaying the serpent. When the lion saw that, he made him all the cheer that a beast might make a man, and fawned about him like a spaniel, and stroked him with his paws. And about noon the lion took his little whelp, and placed him on his back, and bare him home again, and Sir Percivale, being left alone, prayed till he was comforted. But at eventide the lion returned, and couched down at his feet, and all night long he and the lion slept together. 6. An adventure of Sir Lancelot. As Lancelot went his way through the forest, he met with many hermits who dwelled therein, and had adventure with the knight who stole his horse and his helm, and got them back again. And he learned from one of the hermits that Sir Galahad was his son, and that it was he who at the feast of Pentecost had sat in the Siege Perilous, which it was ordained by Merlin that none should sit in save the best knight in the world. All that night Sir Lancelot abode with the hermit, and laid him to rest, a hair shirt always on his body, and it pricked him sorely, but he bore it meekly, and suffered the pain. When the day dawned, he bade the hermit farewell. As he rode he came to a fair plain, in which was a great castle set about with tents and pavilions of divers hues. Here were full 500 knights riding on horseback, and those near the castle were mounted on black horses with black trappings, and they that were without were on white horses, and their trappings white. And the two sides fought together, and Sir Lancelot looked on. At last it seemed to him that the black knights nearest the castle fared the worst, so, as he ever took the part of the weaker, he rode to their help, and smote many of the white knights to the earth, and did marvellous deeds of arms. But always the white knights held round Sir Lancelot to tire him out. And as no man may endure for ever, in the end Sir Lancelot waxed so faint of fighting that his arms would not lift themselves to deal a stroke. Then they took him, and led him away into the forest, and made him alight from his horse, and rest. And when he was taken, the fellowship of the castle were overcome for want of him. "Never ere now was I at tournament or joust but I had the best," moaned Sir Lancelot to himself, as soon as the knights had left him and he was alone. "But now I am shamed, and I am persuaded that I am more sinful than ever I was." Sorrowfully he rode on till he passed a chapel, where stood a nun, who called to him and asked him his name and what he was seeking. So he told her who he was, and what had befallen him at the tournament, and the vision that had come to him in his sleep. "Ah, Lancelot," said she, "as long as you were a knight of earthly knighthood, you were the most wonderful man in the world, and the most adventurous. But now, since you are set among knights of heavenly adventures, if you were worsted at that tournament, it is no marvel. For the tournament was meant for a sign, and the earthly knights were they who were clothed in black, in token of the sins of which they were not yet purged. And the white knights were they who had chosen the way of holiness, and in them the quest is already begun. Thus you beheld both the sinners and the good men, and when you saw the sinners overcome, you went to their help, as they were your fellows in boasting and pride of the world, and all that must be left in that quest, and that caused your misadventure. Now that I have warned you of your vainglory and your pride, beware of everlasting pain, for of all earthly knights I have pity of you, for I know well that among earthly sinful knights you are without peer." 7. An adventure of Sir Gawaine. Sir Gawaine rode long without meeting any adventure, and from Pentecost to Michaelmas found none that pleased him. But at Michaelmas he met Sir Ector de Maris, and rejoiced greatly. As they sat talking, there appeared before them a hand showing unto the elbow, covered with red samite, and holding a great candle that burned right clear, and the hand passed into the chapel and vanished, they knew not where. Then they heard a voice which said, "Knights full of evil faith and poor belief, these two things have failed you, and therefore you may not come to the adventure of the Holy Graal." And this same told them a holy man, to whom they confessed their sins. "For," said he, "you have failed in 3 things, charity, fasting, and truth, and have been great murderers. But sinful as Sir Lancelot was, since he went into the quest he never slew man, nor shall, till he come into Camelot again, for he has taken upon him to forsake sin, and were he not so unstable, he should be the next to achieve it, after Galahad his son. Yet shall he die an holy man, and in earthly sinful men he has no fellow." "Sir," said Gawaine, "by your words it seems that our sins will not let us labor in that quest?" "Truly," answered the hermit, "there be an hundred such as you, to whom it will bring naught but shame." So Gawaine departed, and followed Sir Ector, who had ridden on before.